Actually, I'm rolling. So, just so you know, right? I've just got to reference to what's been happening. First of all, it's been 3 weeks since I've been smoking, and I've just had a couple of puffs. So that's one thing. So this is going to be interesting. Second, she's been blowing my fucking mind with some crazy. Like, I'm just like sitting there going, oh my God, this is amazing. I'm like, oh, I forgot I've still not started filming yet. So you're not going to miss anything. Don't worry. So Maggie, thank you for coming. First of all.
Thank you.
Now I've got on here because it made me laugh. You've literally texted me over the last week or so, like a complete and utter agenda, right? Of what we're going to discuss.
No. Ideas.
Oh, ideas to discuss, yeah. And I was like, oh yeah, she's a teacher. Yeah, I was like, that's what made me laugh.
Exactly.
I was like,
learning objective or outcomes.
It was brilliant. So thank you for that, because I was like, actually, this is really handy. It's like, yeah. So I mean, do you really want? I'm more than happy. I could literally just go and say the different things, and we could just start talking on each subject if you want.
Yeah, I can't remember what was
Underneath Mandalay Cafe. Yeah.
Should we start off with?
All right, I'll tell you what. Can I suggest where we start off the misogynoir?
Yeah. Okay.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, for those of you that don't know, like I've known you. Well, I've known you the same time as Hunza, so about 2 years roughly. A bit longer?
No, we've been making music for about.
You two have been, you're making music about time, but have I known you longer than that?
Like you gave. I was even saying how my first ever radio show.
Yeah.
Was when I did that sort of guest thing for Clashmouth. You were there. Dexter was there as well. It was in Myland. It was.
Oh, the records.
The same. No. The same radio station that boy in the corner. What's his name? We used to.
What? Rinse?
No. It wasn't Rinse. But either way, that was my first ever radio show. It was right by my land.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I remember...
Me and Dexter were doing it?
Yeah. Because you were promoting Clashmouth.
Oh.
So think about when you were promoting Clashmouth.
Oh, so that's about... Before
when it was
House
still
of
at Vans. Yeah. No,
so about 5 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago now.
Did it happen in Vans? No, it did happen in Vans.
Oh my God.
That particular one did happen in House of Vans.
But
anyway, either way, I think we've known each other for about maybe 4 years.
4 years.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, because actually, yes, because you and Hamza have been making tunes about 2 years, and that's probably when I met him about 2 years ago, yeah. So I knew about double the time. So that was, see, there you go. But what the overriding conversation that me and you had when we started the Black Jungle, well, when I started Black Jungle Alliance, we had the private group, and there was a lot going on in the group because, you know, there was the whole discussion, should we let white people in, you know, and then someone was like, yeah, well, people and someone's parents and stuff, you know, mixed race kids' parents and stuff, well, might want to be in there. Well, not just parents, but the parents of mixed race children. Where do you draw lines? And what do we do? And all this sort of stuff. And there was a lot of conversation, lot of anger, a lot of heat, you know, generated. And then you pipe up and then had a question about basically.
No, let's not. Let's actually. It would have been nice to have because I don't want to misquote because I know that I'm very intentional when it comes to.
No. Okay.
But it said, were you going to repeat it?
I wasn't going to repeat it word for word. I wish
fine.
I was going to just sort of give an overview.
All right. Cool.
But essentially, you're asking why did none of the black DJs in Jungle have black partners? Essentially, have I got that right?
No. And people, it's so interesting actually that people always change it into that because what I actually said is
please.
That, but people always change it to that don't have black partners. But what I said is that something along the lines of I've come to notice that all of the black men in the jungle scene exclusively date non black women,
right?
I think, or something like that.
Yeah.
And do we think that might play a part in the misogynoir that we see in the scene? Right.
And then that word misogynoir came up. I didn't know what the fuck it meant because I was like, you what? But I was thinking, well, it sounds like misogyny against black women, I guess, which was a new term to me. I'll be honest. And then you felt that I didn't. Well, I remember us speaking. You felt that I didn't sort of do enough to defend you when people were seemingly attacking you as a result of your post. And I didn't even know that the post existed.
I don't know if I remember that, but I do. I do remember people getting their knickers in a twist.
Yeah.
And doing really weird. Not even necessarily talking about the point, but I guess getting a little bit. No, not even personal. Actually, at one point there was someone who was like arguing, and then I was like, oh no, I said that here, and then they were, oh, I've not read it.
Yeah.
And then it was like,
well, you haven't even read the original thing.
So what? So then when I realised that this was the panel of this was the panel, I was like, actually that question, it would have left people thinking, it would have left people some feathers ruffled, because I think ultimately it's very interesting that people are so quick to talk about racism, and then as soon as we say, okay, can we understand how racism against black women might also happen in the scene, suddenly no one wants to think about that question at all. Even Chickaboo was talking about, and I really appreciate the fact that she speaks very openly about the fact that I am the only black female MC in Jungle, and
I've been racking my brains ever since. There's not a single one. Yeah. There isn't a single one, really.
As she said, they are there, but as in she's the one flying the flag.
I want someone, please, to come forward and go, yeah, but there's so and so. Please do that, please. Because every black woman I think of is a DJ, apart from Chickaboo, which is fine, and there's not enough of that as far as I'm concerned. Which is what. One of the things that, which was a bit of a secret, but it was kind of.
But what I wanted to just finish off by saying is that she acknowledges that, and it's no coincidence that the only black female MC that will make it is a light-skinned one. Right. So she talks about misogynoir. Misogynoir and colorism. And colorism. They all linked. You know what I mean? Like, that's why even we speak about how it makes sense that Fabio and Groove Rider got to where they got to, and that Goldie got where he got to. Right. Colorism.
Yeah. So it's easier for society to accept.
Palatable. Yeah, I mean, obviously there's so many different questions, but it's
there's a point I made while I was working with my former employers. It's like, how comes all of your guys, with the mics, all cut? And then they got the album deals. And then there's another guy, MC, a lot darker, hasn't got an album deal. Now, that's not to be disparaging to these lot, but it's certainly a bit disparaging to these lot, this guy.
For sure. I think even, I talk about this with my friends quite openly, because it feels like a case study of like just the silliness of that, I guess, of colorism and of misogynoir in the scene, because I talk very openly about the fact that when I was booked for Fabric the first time, I wasn't booked. I was on Instagram and then I just see Sheba Q's playing back to back with so and so, playing back to back with so and so. Yeah, and they hadn't called you. And so I messaged my manager like, did you sign this off? And then she was like, no, I was just about to ask you, did you sign this off? Yeah. And then it turns out that they just, they wanted a black female DJ, a brown female DJ, and a white female DJ who have never gone back to back together to just go back to back. And then it ended up being where obviously they hadn't done any research to see that obviously I prefer to play like vinyl. And so it meant for now my debut at Fabric, because these other DJs don't play vinyl, I had to essentially dumb down my set. And I said, if you just look at it from a case study point of view. Sorry, you just said dumb down. Let's react. No, as in quantitatively speaking, I had to not play.
The way that you
so that I could, and it was like you couldn't write it where the black woman has to limit herself, go down, and not even be spoken to, not even be approached, not even have the pay negotiated, not even because these other people knew about it. So somehow, anyway.
Oh, so the two other DJs knew?
And then the promoter tries to say that it was their responsibility to tell us. He's like, well, no, it wouldn't be their responsibility because you're the ones who are paying me, and that's not how it works. And it was very, very odd. So I always look at that experience as just sort of if anybody wants an example of the silliness, I can go on and like specifically how I had to navigate that.
That's a clear example.
Yeah, because it was like they just wanted to fulfill their quota. They were like, let's just put these girls of the United Colours of Benetton and we can just put on, because that was their aim.
I've always slagged off Benetton, and then someone goes, yeah, but at least they're trying. I said, yeah, but no, there's probably not even a single person that kind of works at Benetton. It's in Italy, for fuck's sake. One. Let's not do that. But what I'm saying is...
you know what my sister said? My sister said that. Because you know how there's this like theme that's going around and like, why as a man do you wear a backpack or something like that? There's this thing like, why are niggas still going to Italy on holiday?
Because so what? Yeah.
Why are you fooling yourself?
I mean, I don't know. It's
I had a cigarette butt like put in my face when I was in Italy like one time.
Look, I'm probably the worst person to talk about this because my ex was Italian, and
I don't know if it's your experience. If you're as long as you're speaking facts.
I mean, it was like two of the most stupidest sentences I've ever heard have come out of Italian women's mouths. That's all I'm like. This one was
quantitatively speaking.
Quantitatively speaking. I'm going to say that. Quantitatively speaking.
You're the ones. Yeah.
I've got to use this phrase. This is going to get me out of trouble. Quantitatively speaking. Yeah. I mean, it's that's one you got to learn. Quantitatively speaking. Two of the silliest sentences I've ever heard. So this I was working for British Red Cross. We're doing the charity mugging, right? Trying to still get people. So this Italian sort of like supervisor, she's standing there in fucking freezing cold, whatever, and just for no fucking reason whatsoever, she goes, I know that on the outside I am white, but inside I am black, and this sort of stuff, right? And I was like, look, love.
This was a lot of digital people saying.
It's just. It is. But hold on. This is my. So I said, listen. If you wake up tomorrow, you're black, you'll fucking kill yourself. So just shut the fuck up. I appreciate you've had a bit of black cock, but let's just leave it, all right? Just all right. And then the other one was fucking this one here. Now she's like, I don't see colour. It's not about the colour. It's about the culture. But I dated 4 black men at once when I arrived from Italy. It's like how do you rationalise that? And I'm going to sound like some bitter ex, and I'm not. Really, I'm not. Because it just annoyed me because I said, well, you fetishise black men. And she goes, how dare you say that? I fetishise black men. And I was like, well, so that's really, really racist what I just did. But like, it just really annoyed me that. She said, oh, I'm not looking, it's not about that, I'll date anyone. So then why were they 4 black dudes? Why couldn't you have Chinese, you know what I mean? It's like, but no, it's always got to be the same thing, but that said.
But that's what I was trying to comment on when I was saying, how come in the scene, like, has anyone, I'm not saying that it's wrong.
Yeah.
But can we acknowledge that, because actually, statistically speaking, most people actually tend to date their own race. So it is actually an anomaly that this trend seems to happen. And in fact, I feel like the only prolific drum and bass person who's dating who is in a relationship with a black woman is Lensman, who's white, which is funny. But
no, I don't know if Bookham's still married to Antoinette. I think her name is.
Okay, fair enough. But either way, like I was just saying, it was just interesting. And how does that play into misogynoir? And that question, I think it showed that group, it wasn't a safe enough space to be having that conversation.
No, because like the first 2 people to answer for it were white, weren't they, as well? And that was something that I think irritated a number of people in the group because it's like, well, how can, what
would you do differently, if anything?
I wouldn't have let any white people in.
Oh, really?
Like, I would have, because I was speaking to Chickaboo, and she was talking about how, no men are allowed in the EQ50 group.
At least within that inner circle.
So at least you've got something you can sort of go...
Monitor,
and you can just sort of like, like no one's going to come in and take over. And you just have to say, look, to the white people that want to join, say, look, if you really are our ally, then just let us have this little bit of just so we could just sort some shit out.
Even the terminology "let us" is funny.
Well, don't you see? It's fucking. I knew you were going to be. But yeah. No, you're right. You're right.
This actually links really nicely to the instance that we had that is currently ongoing, but I think it's important that it's spoken about out loud. So we went to Corsica a couple weeks ago. Because I've been thinking a lot about, like, just because I'm picking up on this the terminology "let us," not to say that I'm putting you up on it, but I'm trying to live. I'm trying to live my life in a way where it's like
I'm doing what I'm doing.
I don't want to be palatable anymore. Like I've got to where I've got to because I know how to be palatable, and actually I want to use that to serve me. And when it doesn't, especially when it comes to being performative and playing up to the sort of ignoring racism and sexism, like I just don't want to anymore. And even like that's why I make a point of educating myself about trans rights and things like that, because like I don't want to be palatable anymore. We need to be talking about these things. We need change, and I'm going to be the change that I want to see. which is being vocal.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we go to Corsica. We're in the smoking area now, and somebody shouts across to No Nation, "Oh, are you related to Threshold?"
Yeah.
Yeah. And so then, you know, doing what we usually do, because we've been trained to know how to diffuse such situations.
Yeah.
So, you know, the Nation replies saying, "Ha ha ha, you know, not every black person is related."
Yeah.
You know, you gotta laugh it off, innit?
Laugh it off, yeah. Don't be too threatening.
Yeah, exactly. But then now the friend intervenes and goes, "Oh, shut up, like, don't pull the race card." Then at this point it was like,
Okay.
so...
Then you feel like to have to switch there.
Yeah, like, oh, so we brave.
Yeah.
So we brave now. Oh, okay then. Because at first we could have said it was just like racist ignorance. And then bearing in mind that I was now telling the original guy who asked the question, because he was standing behind me. I was like, if you know what's good for you, you'll leave. No. So in the end, they're not wanting to move. So we, I think, simultaneously chuck their drinks out of their hands. You know what I mean? Anyway, so then now... I think now, I can't remember, somebody comes now outside, and it felt like as if people now started siding with them as opposed to us.
Yeah.
And then, you know, I think I even went on to say, like, no, I don't want people to police the fact that I'm angry right now, and let everybody know in this smoking area that you don't go around just asking random black people that you don't know whether they're related to other black people. Like, today, you know, because so often we would have just laughed it off and would have been quiet. Actually, no, now. I don't care that you're telling me that, oh, if you don't calm down, you get to begin. Let this be a learning point, because I'm annoyed, I'm not being palatable anymore, and I'm not police what the original thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we end up now getting taken to the security room where we can explain what happened, and the Nation is explaining that, you know, if this was anyone else, if it was me as a girl and someone had come and said something like sexually explicit to me or something that I find uncomfortable, no one would be policing me chucking their drink out of their handmates, because it's easy for you to now be seeing me as the aggressor, that there's even this like potential thing where we're going to be getting kicked out.
Yeah.
Anyway, so after hearing us, they're like, okay, you can go inside.
Yeah.
They speak to this other group of people, and whatever it is that happened in that particular conversation, they then now come back to us about maybe 15 minutes later and say, oh, actually, you've got to go.
Jesus, right, okay.
So then now we were like, oh, okay. And then now what made it even worse is that now when we're leaving, they hadn't done it in a way where they had staggered us leaving. So now we're crossing each other in the corridors. And as I was speaking to someone who I was saying to, like, I didn't appreciate the way it felt like you just came in and you just barked the defense and was like telling me to calm down and telling me to sit down. Like, you know, the optics of it just didn't look very good. And then this person who was part of this ignorant crew came and hugged the person that I was talking to whilst I was there. At that point it was like, okay, I'm just backing away, like, I don't care. Just antagonizing behavior, you know what I mean? Which is the same antagonizing behavior that would give you the courage to shout that at, because so often we let them get away with, oh, they're just a bit silly, or, you know, oh, they're not racist, but I think they're just a bit ignorant. Okay, well, I'm going to let you know that was a racist statement, and I'm not being palatable with my response anymore, so now we're going to have to deal with it. So some ignorant people are going to have to learn, otherwise isn't that the whole point of what we're talking about? People need to learn and learn quick.
So you're saying that, right, so you're saying that his original statement of him being related to Threshold is racist? Or would you feel it's racist? It's a black person that you've never met in your life. Yeah. And you're asking if they're related to another black person. I think know your role. Never met. Yeah. Because I didn't know Hamza, but when I met him, I was thinking, oh, I wonder if he's actually. I didn't actually meet that, because there is a similarity. But I knew him, and obviously I knew Threshold as well. So it wasn't the same thing. I mean, yeah.
Either way, so we've now been going through the process of. I've just been basically asking, like, what policy were you following? Because obviously these kinds of scenarios, if you're talking about club spaces being safe, these kinds of scenarios are textbook 101. Someone says something racist, or someone says something homophobic. Or, you know, even last year at an event that I was at Costco last year, you know, there was a trans woman in the toilet and there was a straight white man in the queue saying, you're not supposed to be in there. But, you know, and it was when I was thinking about some instances that have happened at that place, I was like, actually, hang on. It's not like this haven that like, it's still a club space, and if you've not even prepared, if your policy has not even prepared you for this kind of textbook situation where you're letting us go back in and then you're not, and then you're not then what situations have you been preparing for? Or when you make all these big things like no to racism, no to Okay, so what policy were you following that meant that you allowed us back in and then changed your mind? So clearly there was nothing at all, and this is not a bespoke, interaction. And I even was remembering how like another time, in fact, last year again, someone was. This is why whenever I go to raves, I always stay in the booth, in the DJ booth. Because I've been like carried before and just taken to the other side of the room. I've been like, someone's trying to like forcibly kiss me, but luckily like Nation was behind me, so I just sort of gave him the look that you do when you try and tell like someone to like get you away kind of thing. So it was like, I'd almost kind of gaslit myself into thinking that, nothing has ever happened. But actually, no. Things have happened. It's just that we've ignored them because we're having a good time. And then now the one time where we're like, actually, no, you know what? It's handled so sloppily that it's like, so what are we talking about when we're talking about making safe club spaces? Like what?
So I got everyone wearing the t-shirts and, that sort of stuff about, I can't remember, there's a t-shirt they had all the staff there wearing the other day. I noticed some sort of like, hands off, or I can't remember, some sort of message, which, it's rightly so, but I mean, everyone should kind of know. Just because you know what it was. Now it's just pinged in my head just quickly. It was Clash Mouth.
Yeah.
And there was the discussion on women in. That's when we first met.
It was Clash Mouth. Yeah. So Clash Mouth, but the one before.
Before that, and we had I did a panel. I hosted a panel, and that was a really enlightening day, and that was it was Mantra. We had Robin Chaos. Oh shit! I can't remember who else it was. There was a couple of women. Oh dear, that's terrible.
Was it one of the? What's that guy who used to head drum and bass against racism? Was he on the panel?
No.
Oh, okay.
I can't remember who it was, but I remember Mantra and Robin Chaos was because I think I asked for like she wasn't on there. I can't remember, but
it was a while ago. It was years ago.
It was a long time ago. So forgive me, guys. I'd have to look back.
Was it recorded? Do you know?
No, I don't think it was. But I asked the question. Oh no, Mantra asked the question. By show of hands, how many women have been inappropriately touched at a nightclub? And basically, every woman put her hand up apart from one. And it turned out the one that didn't put her hand up had only just started clubbing like last week or something. It was like, so it was sort of like, so that's just going to probably... you're an anomaly and it's probably going to happen within the next year. But it's And I just remember being absolutely embarrassed and just mortified. And then you very sweetly said, like, well, the reason why you're so disgusted is because you're one of the good ones. And I was like, and I am, for fuck's sake. You're never going to hear me getting beat.
Did I say that? Why would I know that?
I don't know, but you said that and it was true though.
Okay.
It was true, you're right. I get to appropriately touch women and whoever, whenever I want, but not inappropriately and not without anyone's permission. It just, I don't get how people feel so free to
I don't know, because I feel like you thought I said that, but I feel like what I was saying, I know you've said this, but I feel like my sentiment was more that I just don't know how much we can keep claiming ignorance. Did we not think so for example, like when everyone put their hand up, did you not think to yourself, okay, what friend then, if I had to think to myself, actually they've said some funny things about women, maybe they could be someone who does that. Or
no, what I was thinking about really in that sense was that, okay, because who was I in a relationship with? I can't think. Was probably with Helen then. So so her previous boyfriend had been abusive to her. And then Jacob's mum, not so much, because like I met her very young, and then I think she only had one boyfriend before she'd ever met me, and even he was, I think he was a heroin addict or something. Do you know what I mean? So I think do you know what I mean? So there's probably been some shit there. Oh, sorry, Sharp. But anyway, but it's all right. She's all right now. She's married, and she never did heroin. I did, but not Helen. I mean, not. Oh no, Helen didn't. No, I did. But Charlene never did. That's Jake's mum, sorry. Anyway, see, weed. I shouldn't have done it. I shouldn't have smoked it before. Come on. I knew I shouldn't have done it. Anyway. No. That's the rules. We're rolling. Yeah. All right, so we had the conversation. And I remember we got on a phone call, or we were fiercely exchanging messages or voice notes about the whole thing. And I just said, well, my only point was, you had a valid point that you're raising, or you're looking at us to sort of like look at it in some sort of like open-minded intellectual way, but I just think there was just too much anger and confusion and stuff for anyone to be that nuanced at the time. And I merely said, well, it's a very small sample set, because I mean, what we're talking about, 25 guys in it at most. And I just felt that might have been the result of the environment, it might have been
Yeah, just the sample, so within the scene.
Within the scene, totally.
As in from a maths point of view, yes, I'm taking the sample from the sample space being the jungle scene.
Yes.
And whether, do we think there's a correlation between this supposed attraction, because there's also this issue where even we talk about it now, they're only putting women on lineups who they find attractive.
Right.
So clearly we are seeing an issue where when there is, for example, a certain I think it's like metalheads that have been serially like only putting white women at the beginning. I think it's always been Jin and Panka, I think.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then there's this question as well of like, was someone like DJ Rap given more of an accolade, because there's this something about the men in the scene kind of what's it called, gatekeeping, and then only letting people in who are women if they find them attractive. And therefore is there a correlation with the fact that the jungle men in the scene seem to find white women exclusively attractive, and the lack of darker skinned females being represented, because unfortunately we have this dynamic. You know what I mean? Would Goldie and Chemistry right at the very beginning were dating? This is a fact. Would the same grace have been afforded if they weren't? Well, we see now, despite the fact that Storm also co-founded Metalheads, she's being pushed out. Was it because she wasn't dating so-and-so? Who knows? But there is this correlation that we need to acknowledge exists. Like, do you know what I mean?
It's definitely. I mean,
and hence why you can be attracted to whoever you want to be attracted to, but don't let that change who you are now gatekeeping and allowing in.
Right. I guess I don't know if people are even aware that they're doing it though sometimes. So
that's why we have to be conscious. That's why it's unlearn, and that's why when we ask ourselves the questions like, what can we do to make things better? Like, you know.
I like the way you said before we started recording. You said that a lot of what we're doing is exactly. It's an unlearning.
The truth is a daily struggle. Yeah, exactly. So it's about constantly. And I always talk about how I grew up in a very strict sort of like Christian Catholic upbringing.
Yeah.
And I can remember homophobia being entrenched inside me. As in, I will openly admit that I would see, two men kissing maybe on a TV show that's after 9:30, and I would feel sick. Like, as in, that was what had been ingrained. Like, we had assemblies where they're telling us to go home and sign petitions against same-sex marriage, and that trope was embedded with me to the point where I can actually remember, wow, they made me have a physical response. I had to unlearn that, and that was a decision that I had to make. Okay, if I've acknowledged that this doesn't make sense, I need to acknowledge it fully, otherwise I'm just being a half-hearted, it's for nothing. So to unlearn, like, we have to unlearn, and the truth is a daily struggle.
No, but I mean, it's something that I've sort of wrestled with myself, because I did have a very, Catholic Christian upbringing, and I think there's aspects of my life now that would definitely go against that. And
it's saying like, you did have a Christian upbringing.
And but it's not really anything I'm not really beating myself up about it, or I just sort of moving forwards with it really, and just.
I always say that for me, like. Christianity, I navigate my spirituality through a Christian lens, because that's what I grew up with, that's my foundation, but ultimately it's up to me to sort of navigate and decide what I pick and choose. It's kind of like what we were talking about earlier about this whole idea of like culture and how we get to decide how our language mirrors some of the things that we've learned and unlearned. Because I think we were talking about EQ50 using women with X.
So I wonder what that was about. What does that really do anything? Does it change anything? But you're right. If you can change language, you can change thinking.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. And by doing that, it's not as if to say that we're incorporating these queer people that have only just come onto the scene in the last 200 years.
Yeah.
It's acknowledging that actually the English language specifically has intentionally erased. I guess non-binary people and trans people for their own agenda, and that actually all you have to do is look at other languages and be like, oh, you mean there are people who are not referred to as either man or woman, because it's understood that if they fulfill a particular role in that society, then like your gender is based on the role you fulfill rather than what you were born with in between your legs, kind of thing. So
so I knew this was going to be great. I knew this was going to be good. So, all right. So basically, you got chucked out of Rupture, or Hamza did, or both of you did?
Well, yeah. It was mainly they approached Hamza, and then obviously just out of solidarity there.
Right. Okay. And they just also left.
So we're dealing with that now, actually, and the the emails aren't making any sense.
From
whoever it is that is security.
Right, of course, yeah.
Yeah, as in it's like making me think, if you're telling us in response that, oh, you come from a mixed heritage family and you've got black people in your family, so although I don't understand, I'm aware, it was a bit like, no, like, are we being this basic? I thought we were supposed to be, what's going on here?
Yeah.
And you're
so the response hasn't been the best from the security. So it's a separate company to.
Well, no, it's the same way Chickabee was saying that a promotion will hire a club, and it's the club who hires the securities.
Yeah.
So either way, I think I make a point of sharing these experiences to sort of say that actually club spaces have a lot more that they need to do. I was even saying that if you look around at some, I know because I go to like kind of more queer events as well as that there is a big queer community that love drum and bass jungle, but when you look at these spaces, as you know, as safe haveny as they are, we're not seeing those queer people there, and there is a reason why, and it's not because they don't like the music. So that needs to be acknowledged. Do you know what I mean? Because it is a fact that last year when they were when a trans woman was in the toilet, someone shouted, "You're supposed to be in it!" Like, do you know what I mean? So, and I know of other spaces where they have like specific liaisons who wear like specific colour jackets, who might stand in places that potential things might happen, like at a toilet if you're trying to go for a more unisex vibe, or you know what I mean. And this is just me as a teacher. How do you crowd control? And so then, if we are being serious about making these spaces safe, we have to then, one, understand what scenarios may happen. So that's why I was just really annoyed. This scenario is very textbook. Why are you acting like as if, like we're having to crack brains to find out how to figure this out, you know? You probably don't chuck out the black person that just got racially, verbally assaulted, like, you know what I mean, or was made to feel racially uncomfortable. That's probably something you don't do when they were the only young black party goers at that event. Like, it's not a good look.
Because I can see the passion. I love it. Because Hamza did message me about it. Yeah. I was like, "What? You got to rupture?" I was like, "I just thought, you know." But yeah, it was pretty mad. Well, if that's
it's important to emphasize. That's why I'm making a point of emphasizing that it's the security team that hired by that club. Clearly haven't really looked into, because as I said, just off the cuff now, I've just said if I wanted to solve certain problems, what am I like doing? Like, do you know what I mean? And not putting like security at toilet spaces, but like specifically people who are like trained in understanding the intricacies of how nights can go,
how they can go awry and stuff.
And how to be a safe sort of person at a club. So
I'm going to use I love this. I'm going to use this. So you said here, I'm watching yours and Boo's podcast. Also, can we talk about the similarities between my tribe's music and jungle? So
but also this, I wanted to actually talk about how, because I will link to that to the African thing. So you know how Chickabee was talking about how people, the conversation between emulating and mimicking of like Jamaican accents and you know, all of that.
And it's not about appropriation or appreciating; it's actually emulation, right?
And just straight up like mimicking. Yeah, exactly. And it just obviously I'm going to hear things from my kind of perspective. But I remember growing up, like if you were black, it was cool at least to be Caribbean. Like, do you know what I mean? Yeah. And even in the music that's kind of coming out today with people like Jay Haas. And I can't remember the other guy, but they're making a point of like putting their African accent on as a point of saying that, you know, this used to be uncool, but now. Yeah. So like it was just like an interesting, my mind sort of wandered, and I thought about how like sometimes African black people had to either, you know, silence the Africans part, because if you were cool, you were Jamaican. So there was definitely, at least there was that sort of cultural thing going on where it was genuinely just cool. But then yes, we unpacked the word cool and you know, all of that. But like saying that, it's
sorry, when you say unpacked the word cool, what do you mean?
Because you know how sometimes when people describe things as urban or cool, you later come to find out that it actually just means like some stereotypical like black trope. Like,
right.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like
I remember having a conversation about just real quick, just to cut in, but someone was saying, oh, you know, heritage artists, and they said, like Frosty and like Brian G and Fabio and Groove Rider and, you know, Bookham and Jumping Bassline, Simon Bassline Smith, you know, and I was like, what, you mean black artists? Like, and I was like, no, heritage, like, you know, New Tone's heritage as well, meaning that these guys have just been around for a long time.
Oh, okay.
The clue where I heard that was in the name of the last artist. So, you know, it was like, oh, so is that your word for black? Oh, no, New Tone. No, New Tone's heritage. It's like, oh, okay. But I think he actually did mean that. And I think he realised in why as soon as I just called it out, you know, a little bit in the moment, he sort of like, you know, maybe changed the meaning of it in his head.
But that's like the conversation of the whole intelligent drum bass. Was it actually, because that was interesting when I watched that conversation.
That's a deep one, you know, because no one's really gone into the depth of that. And I think Giles...
You're saying it could have just been like...
So look...
But it's like cool, it's like the word cool. Like, you know what I mean? Like it can potentially have a lot to unpack, but also we can project a lot of our experiences onto it. You know
yes, you can. But the whole... Right, it's funny you mention that, because I think... I'm not going to speak for Giles, but Giles was part of, Vinyl Distribution. And what, you know, Giles and, you know, me and you know, even Dave, Subject 13, who I live here, we all made... or were associated with what was deemed intelligent jungle. So I didn't really see the race aspect to it so much at the time. I guess moving along, you sort of think, well, okay, there's this idea that this stuff was black and then this stuff was white, and then, you know what I mean? There was some other things there. It was
to
like
me,
it
was the removal of the black voice.
Yeah.
Of the ragga sample. To me, that's my... Having looked at it, and especially when we talk about that LTJ Bookham documentary. It's not got that word. Yeah. It's got no lyrics, and it touches you here, and it touches you here. I've watched that clip so many times.
Yeah. She just didn't want to hear no black man talking no madness over her teeth. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, you know, she just... But I guess sometimes... I don't know whether it's just because... It's almost like a sort of self-terraforming, isn't it? It's like, I call it like the Australian, you know, I was saying all this today. I was saying, like, you know, you go to a pub and they've got like one member of staff who's Australian. And it's not to attack Australians, but fuck it. And then within 3 months, all the staff will be Australian.
Oh,
right?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's terrible because you just want to go with what you like the sound of or go with what is closest sometimes. But then also, I just think, I love the fact that my group of friends and that the people I know are so diverse. So I don't understand why... It's so hard for people to be like that. But I don't want to get away from what you're saying. So you're talking about the notion of you being younger and, like, you know, the idea of being African wasn't as cool as being Caribbean.
Oh yeah, exactly. But I was saying that it's cool now that whenever I hear music that makes me think, this person I think has African heritage. So like, for example, I really appreciate like the music that Jamie makes. He samples a lot of talking drum, which is like a West African instrument. And I remember the first time I heard Chicken Hanzo, like in his very tribal. I was like, I gotta look this guy up. I know that he's got something. And then I saw in his UKF interview that his mum, I think, is Nigerian.
Yes.
And he
didn't even really want people to know he was black.
Yeah.
Do you know how crazy that is?
That's interesting.
Because he said that he knew people would sort of say what he's doing wasn't black enough. And I was like, but I'm hearing tribal shit. Yeah. But it wasn't that traditional push up your light jungle. And it's something I've always had to wrestle with. My own beloved BJA.
Yeah.
We did a thing about all the black run labels, right?
Yeah.
AKB, blah, 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 blah. I'm looking at a list. Do you think In Perspective Records was on the fucking list?
Oh, but it's your thing. Why didn't you put it there?
No. But the point was, from their perspective, my label wasn't a black run label.
Oh.
I was like, well, because it didn't have that traditional. So they had V and you know what I mean.
I don't know who was making this list, but that's just ill-informed.
It was a group. But it kind of irritated me because my label wasn't perceived as black. Okay, you know, and you know,
I don't know how you could do that really, but I mean at the same time, as obviously I've just said that there are certain But that's because I'm actually hearing a drum pattern or a drum sound that I can actually trace to like that continent.
Yeah.
But aside from that, obviously we never want to close ourselves off and say we have to be making music that sounds like this in order to. But no, the point I was mainly just trying to make is that it's cool to hear. Like I'm enjoying hearing the African influences in the sort of new half-time drum and bass jungle music that's coming out. And in fact, the music I recently learnt. Oh, actually, no, not recently. I think I was telling you about even from like last year. Singeli music from Tanzania, which basically sounds like African Gabba music.
Right. Okay.
Basically, like it sounds like. So obviously, Gabba is like a lot faster than jungle. It just sounds like techno really fast. Yeah. And it's crazy and it's ratchet and so.
I mean, there's so much to talk about because it's just like I could tell we could probably be here for hours and hours. So. Let's go back to the beginning. What got you into jungle?
Place to start.
So when did you first start getting involved with jungle drum and bass?
I would say that at the time, I was hearing it at my ex-partner's house. Right. He would mix a lot with his cousin. Yeah. And they would mix very sort of Andy C style drum and bass. Right. So like, which is, I would say, different to the more jungle sort of rare groove kind of vibe that I like to go for. Although I'm very eclectic. But anyway, either way, at that time, the bass music that I liked was more garage house. Yeah. So I found it like a little bit fast. Yeah. But then every now and then they would drop like a liquid tune. Yeah. And so definitely I would say like if this was maybe about maybe this would have been about 7 years ago. Right. I would say that liquid and lyrics and the melodies, because I've always been musical. I've always been in choirs and I've always sung and always liked to perform, like
You can sing as well, don't you?
Yeah, exactly. And so then it was like now when I started learning the lyrics and I'd sing along and then I'd be like, oh, this tune would mix with this tune, and that's when I got the bug, started learning. Yeah. Actually first started collecting more house garage tunes. This is like coming up to like 6 years ago now. Was learning to mix actually with that as well as like my ex's like records. And then I think this was actually, we went to Clash Mouth in when it was still at bar 1001.
No, bar 1001, yeah.
So I don't know how many years ago.
We did 2 there.
Yeah. So I don't know how many years ago that was. That would have been maybe 17 or...
Yeah, 16 or 17.
Yeah. So that was like now I think my first time going into that more what I'd call jungle space. Prior to that I was going to more like Solvent, do like kind of soul-y kind of liquid events. And what else used to happen in Vauxhall? There was another like one there. Anyway, I actually used to go to a lot of Jungle Mania.
Yeah, oh right. I like Jungle Mania,
yeah. So like getting my education from there and then being like, all right, you're playing the same tunes all the time. Let's go find Clash Mouth and like get and get exposed. And then so then from there I just got the bug, and then especially before. Just before lockdown is when I was now starting to play out for like free, getting opportunities. Even that's how I messaged you guys saying that if you're looking for a DJ to mix the tunes at Clash Mouth, advance just to showcase, I'll do it, Yeah. And then lockdown, all I have is my decks and me, Brexing, and then and then now's now.
And now's now.
Yeah.
And so you're on House of Hi-Fi, right?
Yeah. Big up House of Hi-Fi. Yeah, exactly. So when it comes to my first booking, so this happened before lockdown actually, but they were like the first organisation to be like, we want to bring you down to Bournemouth to play for a hotel and whatever. And I was like, oh, I'm good, but I didn't know like, you know what I mean. And so then I had a really sick time, and then I was like, oh my gosh, like that was amazing. I got to do that again. So they were like the first people to properly to book me and to support me. And then now like you big up Kate, she's my manager, she's amazing, she's very sick. And when it comes to, and that's what's actually been really cool as well, because House of Hi-Fi started as a group, a uni project essentially, because I think they all studied degrees to do the events or events management coordination or something like that. So it started off as a project, which meant that perhaps it meant that they actually had to think about certain things. The fact that it initiated and still goes on as something that's trying to push for more women within the drum and bass scene. But what I've really appreciated about navigating this space and having Kate as my manager is that she's just clued up on how to handle these things, or she can often see the microaggressions rather than me having to explain them to her. And I see that as a testament to the fact that this is a group that's been thought about, rather than we just like the music and we want to book some artists. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, but then how do you actually nurture? Then you've got to understand all these things at play, and then act accordingly.
What happened? So I'm jumping around a little bit, but I was thinking about you getting booked for Fabric but not being booked.
Yeah.
Did they ever get back to you on that? Did they ever sort of like explain? Yeah.
No, not really, because even at the time, and this is an interesting. I look back and I think about the fact that I'd already been put in the lineup, and then the money that they offered was really pants as well on top of that. And then it was like, obviously there was an option to be like, well, if you've gone and treated me to this extent, I'm not even like apologise, but try to blame the other DJs for letting me know, even though that's not their job.
No, it's not their job.
And then on top of that, the money's rubbish. It's almost like it was a trap to begin with. That I could have said, you know what, no, take me off, like I'm not going to, but I decided to play. And so, it's not like after the fact they then had a change of heart and said, you know what, actually, that was weird. Like, as in, no, and I think I've heard that that's something that's happened to like a few people before. So,
but then people hearing this might be saying, well, you ended up playing, so like,
Yeah, exactly. And so then it's a question of, that's why even unfortunately being afforded the opportunity to play in a space like that, I have to take it on the condition of being disrespected in that way, and this is the constant balance that I play, and that's why I think it was important for me to mention that I could have not, and then I exclude myself from that space, so that I'm even more invisible. And then
that's the last thing you want.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Things are so difficult. So so I've got to jump on quickly about the hospital thing, because because that's sort of about you being booked, and how it's not been sort of like being fairly booked and that. So I mean, what was that all about? what happened there?
Yeah, no, let's even, because I want to get the numbers. I want to get the numbers correctly.
Oh, okay,
Because it's so laughable. But they just sent an email, obviously, as you do, to.
Well, they just sent recently someone.
No. Okay. So basically they offered for me to play in Milton Keynes, which is far away from where I live, on a set that would mean that I would have to stay there, but accommodation wasn't provided, travel wasn't provided. I'd be playing for an hour and a half. No, I'd be playing for 2 hours.
2 hours, I think you showed me.
And guess what? Guess at what point would I be playing?
Are you playing first? Yeah.
Trying to fit our quota. We're not actually trying to.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to elevate. You know what I mean? Anyway, because that's what you do, all of them. But anyway, because on the flyer it will be wherever we want to put it, but at the end of the day,
you're still first in line. Yeah.
Anyway, and then it's a 2 hour set, and it was £125.
125. So that's to get her to Milton Keynes, pay for a hotel supposedly, and then it's like, Yeah. and then you had certain other individuals off the label fucking slagging you off.
Saying I'd be. Someone even said, I went and I played at hospitality on the beach, and I paid for my fare, and then I bought the boss a drink afterwards just to show how appreciative I was of that opportunity. I said,
you're a fucking idiot, whatever you are.
You're the ones that I don't have to be a mug. And this is what I mean again about this palatableness. Like, who is it serving me not blasting you? Who's it serving me not blasting you? Like, you are not even going to pay me anyway. It's not even like I can say, and that's why I go back to the Fabric thing, like, where maybe then I shouldn't have, because maybe just because I was trying to make a quick however much money. But you're not even this establishment's not even paying me. So what am I actually gaining from it?
What makes me laugh is, I'm going to try and do this without giving away any inside stuff that get me sued. But if you think about it, BMG bought Ram, right, for an amount of money that was very significant, right? My understanding is that a similar deal were offered to this particular promoter, and they knew that they'll make that money in a couple of years, so they were able to laugh it away. So think about the value of how much it would cost to buy Ram, And then I think this other group were like, "It's all right, keep your fucking change," because we'll make that in half a year. So,
no, but a lot of people were arguing that. It was really weird. A lot of people actually were arguing that, they don't understand how much it costs to put on a night. By the time you've hired all of the, someone said, by the time you've hired all of the security, and I said, no, the promoter hires the club. The club hires this. Like, it's not how it works. But people were brazenly.
The only thing, because they've got, but that's how they make their money, because they got to make sure that everything they do doesn't lose. So they'll have this ridiculous budget, and they'll give the majority of it to one individual, and then they'll scrape. From what I understand, their event on the beach, it's like 40% of the DJs aren't even getting paid, and then some of them are actually buying the flights. You know what I mean? It's not just people happy to be there and whatever.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, you've got people that are music managers at Microsoft, who nobody knows, who are getting to play headline gigs because they're the music manager at Microsoft, and that it's called a tactical booking, strategic booking.
Yeah, and also, and I think as well, that's why I just talk about how these strategies are allowed to, it's business, fine, but these strategies are allowed to go on so long as we feel like, we have to keep quiet, we can't keep quiet about it, and not burn bridges. And
I know. Yeah.
But what do we do when we actually realise that I can put you on blast? Because if you're going to be doing black squares and then now you offer your black female DJ the least amount of money, just know that your dirty laundry is going to be aired out.
It's just bullshit. It's all lip service.
Yeah. And at least it's out in the open.
Yeah. And the thing is like, at least, they were smart enough to put, the former, CEO to pasture, because he was just causing them more and more problems. You know what I mean? And he was always going to cause them problems. And it's just, I've been through therapy. It's fine, but it's just like, it's fine. That's what I mean.
I just came from therapy actually. It was like it was like a 15-minute cycle.
Yeah.
It wasn't quite all.
I mean, is that? Would you say? Because because who else mentioned? Oh, Hamza. Yeah, it was Hamza that mentioned his therapy as well. And I think someone else say they go to therapy. I don't think. I don't know. But I probably need to go again.
Everyone should go to therapy.
Yeah, if you can. If you can afford it.
Yeah.
See, that's what I mean. That should be, offered more. I think. I'm sure from the NHS. I think a lot of people would benefit from, but it's really hard to get, low cost therapy.
Of course. So and again, there is a higher need for therapy simply because we live in such an individualistic, insular, nuclear family. You don't talk to anyone else about anything else. When you're within your cis heteronormative relationship and you've vested your toxic habits that you don't share with anyone else. Right. Whereas when we used to be more flowing and free within our community, how many less people would need therapy if we were just in the practice of talking, like do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like
we don't do it. We need to. But I mean, I found it very useful. But I sort of saw it as that I'm okay most of the time. I just needed that particular.
Yeah, that's.
So I just started to go a bit loopy after Helen's death. And
yeah,
it was just
that's
like,
good.
Yeah, but it was weird how it sort of manifested. So it was like a lot of just really bad, over the top drug use and just debauched behaviour and just it was ongoing.
Yeah, that is a human response. Like them ones that is a tried and tested way of unfortunately addressing something in the way, but it happens.
It's like let's go do lots of drugs.
Yeah.
It was fun though, but there's parts of it I'll do again. But at the same time, if I'm being honest, but at the same time, it was really, really damaging.
What's one thing your current self now would tell your former self? Now that you're here,
don't touch meth.
Well, you heard it here first.
That's exclusive, yeah. And I don't mean like methadone. I mean the methamphetamine. Yeah, I had a problem with it. Fuck it. It weren't too good, but I'm over it now. And it was it was definitely a weird one. But I suppose
that's why they're saying all the fish in the Thames are morphed. Everyone's on drugs.
Everyone's on drugs. So much people.
Yeah.
So right, okay. So I'm gonna keep going with this because I love this.
Yeah. My name.
Yeah. Right. So you said the MC.
Oh yeah. Oh my goodness me.
Have you spoken to this person?
Yeah, I haven't seen their response. So again, this is what I mean about how I'm in my new era of demanding the world that I want to see.
Yeah.
So if people's bootstraps are not tight, come on. So yeah, no, I was at this event. I was DJing at this event, and already I'm sort of noticing that this particular MC is like, you know, when someone can't tell that, no wait, when I'm in the mix, don't be grabbing my shoulders and saying, you know, have a bit of self-awareness. I also don't know you from Adam.
I mean, I appreciate sometimes MCs get excited, especially if they like what you're doing. But no, please continue. That's the only thing I would say. Maybe it's like defense, but
Like I think. Try and actually imagine what it means if you're smaller in size. Someone to come and grab your shoulders.
Sure.
Do you get what I mean?
No, I'm not gaslighting. I'm just.
No, I didn't think that you were. I merely emphasised because I was like, sometimes when we talk about these things, like, no, actually imagine what it means. Like as I was saying earlier, for you're dancing at a rave and someone just picks you up.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Because you're smaller than
no one would be able to do that.
So
that's what I mean.
So that's what I mean. Actually imagine.
And I guess that's where we need to be more empathetic as much as possible because what you do, and it's that, well, I call it the O-butts. So, you know, or the O-butts. So he would say, oh, well, you know, I got stopped, 6 times this week. Yeah, but I've been stopped before. And you're trying to explain things, and then it's the O-butts or the ear-butts, and it's like, all right, but like you're not hearing what I'm saying because you're going just from your standpoint. So like
the ego defensive thing,
it's like the hot girl who never has to buy a drink. And like, do you know what I mean? And she said, well, you know what it's like when guys are trying to buy you drinks all the time. And then, there's like some people are like, no. What the fuck are you talking about? No one's ever done that to me before. Like, do you know what I mean? And so, it's fine. But sorry, continue. So,
no, it's fine.
Dempsey.
Anywho, so then, so that's happening. And then now it was so silly because I had just come back from hosting at Boiler Room in Amsterdam, and then I'd flown in and I left my USB at the airport, so I had to quickly get new music from Bandcamp onto my USB, and then I was playing. So thank God Bandcamp, you have a library where you can just do that. But anywho, so then already my mind is like, I'm really trying to, I don't know what's going on. I'm overhearing him saying, yeah, I'm a white guy that says Bumble Clark, deal with it. And I'm like, what is going on? And I'm hearing him spit in a Jamaican accent, and I'm like, oh my God. And literally looking back now, I was like, there was too many things going on that I actually couldn't articulate, that I was uncomfortable. Do you know what I mean? And so then I felt such a great sense of injustice, and I was like, you know what, the way I can address this, no, I'm not going to go to the promoter and say, I'm going to message the guy directly and say, you know what, you were getting too close for comfort. You wouldn't have been moving me around like that if I was a man. It just wouldn't have been. You would have been excited. Maybe you would have even put your hand on his, but you wouldn't, do you know what I mean? And even if you would, I don't know you. So
if you know someone, it's different.
And then on top of that, were we arranged to be doing a set together? No. Why were you speaking in a Jamaican? And again, I said, and you were speaking in a Jamaican accent, which was weird to me. And so and then I made a point of putting that conversation on my story because I was like, let's have examples of how to handle these things, because we can't keep pretending like, oh, we're ready to be anti-racist until an actual example, befalls in front of you and you're stumped, you don't know what to do. And that's also me, personally, I don't have to now go to the promoter to say, we can have an honest dialogue. I didn't like this. And
stop it.
I'm not even, we're not having a discussion. So to the point where I got a message back, but the first line I think said something like, yo, I'm shocked. And then I just didn't read it.
Oh, okay.
I was like, I've said my piece. And if it means that next time, that's going to leave one white MC scared before they spit in a Jamaican accent, then my work is done. If it means that they're going to have to at least think about it first, or someone might actually draw me up, then my work is done.
I don't know why he would do that anyway. What's he trying to prove?
People do all the time.
I know, but it's just dumb. I don't get it. It's like even, I mean, anyone trying to do an affected accent from anywhere is just bad. But it's particularly bad when you sort of try and do it in front of the person. They think, because he probably looked at you and thought, oh, she's Jamaican, maybe she'll appreciate this. It's probably that. Well, he probably does it all the time, but.
But that being said, I've been seeing when you look at some certain dance hall communities and stuff. If you look on, I've seen sometimes they will elevate white people spitting in Jamaican accents. I don't know if it's 'cause it's funny or not funny. Sorry, but it's like.
Well, I mean,
I was just about to say that. Yeah. Do you get what I mean?
They actually revere him.
Yeah. So I wonder. I don't know what. I mean, I. Does that link to the question that I asked about?
I guess on some level. I guess so because it's
Or are we projecting our own feelings onto it, and actually, if someone wants to show
you see,
appreciation, that's what's really annoying. He's showing appreciation, but also he is at the top. He's benefiting the most.
Yes,
that's what's scary.
And it's just like, yeah, I mean, so I think I refused to go on a date once because someone asked if I wanted to go and see Patrick Forge, and well, he's like sort of imagine like Rodigan but for British soul kind of thing.
Okay.
Soul and funk.
Yeah.
You know, nearly 95%, 100% of the music he plays is black. He's white. He's benefited a lot from it, and I was like, you know what? No, I don't want to go. Like, I actually got pissed off at the person for even asking, which is really unfair because she didn't have a clue.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, these people just using our culture and just becoming at the top of things, and there's no evidence of any sort of like payback at all, you know, whatsoever. I mean, you know, Giles Peterson, I feel as though there's been attempts from Giles to like kind of come back and do some stuff in the community and work different things. I feel as though there's been some stuff there. I mean, you know, Westwood unfortunately is problematic now with all the shit that's come out of it. So it's like he's fucked, you know. So it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter whether he has or not.
Yeah, and that's why it's similar to the whole you know lobster thing. People abusing the power and
lobster firm.
Using the clout that they're getting from the music, from the black music, in order to. And so when do we decide that actually enough is enough, and that actually I don't care about the clout of the H word, I'm gonna call you out. I don't care about the clout of fabric, I'm gonna call you out. I don't care about it because you need me. Yeah. You need me.
Yeah. She needs hospital. Right. So that's what I was talking about. Hospital.
You need us.
Yeah, no, you're right. I should say, but I just don't like saying the word. It's almost like, I mean, I was joking with
him that shall not rename.
Yeah, it's a bit like that. It's like they're Voldemort to me now. It's like I don't even want to fucking say them. But like, because what people never understood about the whole situation, I never spoke about this publicly, but what people need to understand about that is that this kicked off with the whole Jetstar thing. And people just thought I was just sore because, you know, I got fired by them. But what it was is this Jetstar offer came in 6 months before I started, right? And a member of their staff, you know, a very intelligent man called Chris Marigold, said, don't you think we're a bit white to try and put this project out? And they just needed a fucking black face in the office so they could put out this fucking album. That's literally what my career at Hospital Records was about, was to put out a singular album. Because as soon as the album was done, within 2-3 months, they got rid of me, and they couldn't have me there and leave Dexter there. So they had to fire Dexter as well, thankfully, because Dexter didn't want to be there anyway. He hated it there more than I did. I actually didn't mind it, fucking fool that I was. But like, you know, it was.
Yeah, but it's all about being palatable and what we're willing to mold ourselves into, because unfortunately the world is abrasive and sometimes you got.
It is, but then that's the thing, because I was the posh black guy who ran the label that was as far removed from Hospital as possible. You know, running Inspector Records, right? So it made sense, and it's because I've done Clash Mouth. That's when fucking I used to call it Emperor Palpatine. Chris Goss came up and spoke to me, and never met him, and. Then next thing I've got offer of a job, but it was almost like, but we're just hiring Dexter as well to do the same thing because we don't really trust you to do the job. You know what I mean? So I realised that very quickly, which is why I just let Dexter. I was like, fine, I'll just sit here and do the manufacturing shit. But I think that was what was quite hurtful, and it was really evident they didn't want me there. It's just, every time I asked a question, his face would change. You know what I mean? It was always really unpleasant. It was nasty, and you know. I feel like a fool, you know. I sometimes just feel like a bit of a dickhead.
Well, hindsight is 2020.
Yeah, no, of course, but it was just one of them things where it's just like fucking cunts. It's just, you know what I mean? It's just, and then like Tim Reaper, he done 3 remixes, right? They're all brilliant, and then you know, poor old Saxon, I did give him a hard time at the time, but he had like 2 remixes on the album. I mean 2 remixes on the album. It's like, well, there's room for 2 remixes for me, but you couldn't put one of the Tim Reaper ones in there. They're brilliant. How do you remix Aswad? He remixed fucking Aswad. The boy's a fucking genius. To choose actually fucking really good, and they just like, oh no, it doesn't fit. And then you know, Double O's tune. You know, Dave, I love your music. I fucking love your music, but that was not one of his best pieces of music.
No, I can imagine he would. I don't think he was going around giving his
remix out to people.
No,
I don't think. I think he just banged it out and just, you know what I mean. Good. If that's the case, then good, Dave. Nice one. What I'm saying is...
We know his music enough.
No, man, I didn't even realise I got one of his early Lab Logic bits from fucking years ago. I've always been a fan of Double.
So that's why when we did that tune, God is Woman, I literally cried. There's a video of me actually crying when I played that Rupture.
Oh, it's beautiful. That's it. And, you know, we're all fans, and that's the thing. And so like, when I had the remix, I was like, it's all right, Dave, do you want to go back in? And he was like, oh, no. I was like, fucking hell. And then, man, Striff had a go. There was loads of people that did, but they just was like, nah, we just want this to be as white as possible.
Yeah.
And they did it under the guise of, we need it to be for the artists on the label, but they had plenty of guest artists on there. So that's bollocks. And also, a lot of their artists were like, because Kino's not going to remix a Jetstar tune. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's fucking, anyway.
Interesting. No, I mean, well, then that's why the question now becomes like, what spaces are we making for ourselves? And remember, the space before it even becomes like a physical space. That's why I talk so much about, and that's why I'll pull you up if we say let us, or like, in the moment where I might laugh something up. Who is it benefiting if I just continue to be palatable? Like, do you know what I mean? There's a lot.
It doesn't, because it doesn't seem to help me. That's what I mean. It's like, you're absolutely right. I mean, I don't really see the point. Like, I mean, and I guess I'm not. I mean, I think that's probably why I'm trying to be as truthful as possible in this thing as well. Because why not? Because even at the time, I just didn't feel like, well, this isn't really going to change anything. But it did.
I think it asked questions. It got people asking.
Questions,
and that's what I mean. Because before we can even talk about this space, we have to talk about how are people even posing the question in their minds. What language are we using to explore this topic? Yeah. So, hence why I go back and say that this is why you can't talk about safe spaces until you've actually thought about, like, giving it. Thought. You have it, and all businesses operate with policy. That's why I was just very confused as to why they didn't actually have any evidence of how they're making a safe space. I don't
think they are. I think ultimately it's about the pound note, but it's just like I guess sometimes for these organisations, it's like, oh god, this again. You know what I mean? I think they're just probably just bored of hearing it. It's like, oh, why can't people just man up or be more this or be more that, and they'll be fine or whatever. I mean, and I'd probably be guilty of saying that in the past, but you just sort of learn, and like having dated different number of women and them telling you about ex-boyfriends, raping them and stuff. You know what I mean? It's like, what the fuck is going on? Do you know what I mean? It just really kind of like.
That's what everyone needs to do. Therapy.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, right, okay. So you sent this MC.
Oh yeah. So I sent
a picture of like him being too physical with you, and
because there was even just when my sister was taking like a video of me, being there, it was just obvious that I was uncomfortable in the videos. I was sending a still from the video, so even this shows that you were too close. And as I said, they responded by judging by the first line, I was like, let me protect my peace. Yeah. And my main intention for that was that we can. Like, bringing things to light and things that have made me uncomfortable is not intrinsically bad, because obviously, especially like British culture, is very keep things hush hush, and it's very you responded in that way, so now we're going to focus on the response rather than the initial very subtle, underhanded, you look like this person comment, or because British racism is very subtle, it's very so it's like, no, if you pinch me under the table, I'm gonna scream. We're all gonna know about it now.
Like, that's what I'm saying.
So that's kind of like what does it mean to actually embody that? Because there are even people who would say that they're of the cause, but they will say things like, oh yeah, I did think that too, but I didn't want to say anything, because I'm shy or whatever. And I was like, you do realize that if we're trying to make a better world, we're gonna have to sacrifice some of our comfortability. That's the whole.
But
that's the whole point.
But some people can't.
That's the whole point. Like, you know what I mean? Like.
Yeah. No, some people just can't. They just don't want to.
Yeah. But that happens in all aspects, because even I think that's why when I asked that question,
back in the group,
where I was basically saying, okay, can the black men in the scene have a look at what role they may have had to play in excluding black women?
Right.
They want to know. They're like, do you know what I mean? It's a question that didn't want to be explored. So we see it happen a lot, where we'll be quick to say, did it? But then until it comes to something, we actually have to think, oh, what part could I be playing? Then,
no. I mean, it made me ask myself. Certainly, I've tried to be open to these things. I tried to be, have that self-referential, I guess, camera, I guess, put on myself, I suppose. Self-aware, self-awareness camera, sort of like directed at myself. I don't know if I've and if not answering it, but I think at the time I would have felt like, I don't know if I've stopped black women from being in jungle space, but I don't know if I've done anything to help get more in. Probably not. I mean, I've certainly invited.
But it's not like it's not an individual thing. It's about just thinking about how. It's just about thinking the same way when I said I had to look at myself and say, okay, considering the behaviour that I've learned when it comes to being like, you know, homophobic, now that I have to look at myself, what role have I, you know, potentially played in excluding these people, making them feel uncomfortable, and then explore that question rather than it be a sort of like, oh well, on an individual level. It's like we're talking about systemic things, like, do you know what I mean?
So I think that's a very difficult question to answer.
Yeah, no, it's not for you to answer. I think I wanted, and that's why I think I said it like best earlier. Is there a correlation between these two variables? If you think about it from a scientific experiment, like, do you know?
You're definitely in the wrong room. Well, the question was, it wasn't really, but I think everyone was just, I'm not making an excuse for anyone. Yeah. I mean, there was a couple of people that came to me, all sorts of different grievances and stuff like that about the room. It's like, oh, I'm not going to be in the group because he owes me £20 from 30 years ago, and do you know what I mean? It's like, come on, man. What do you want me to do, man? It's like, what do you want me to do? And it's like, and it's so yeah, I think in hindsight, I would have probably been, I should have just put my foot down a bit more and said, look.
You know what is interesting? Because before actually music, I was involved a lot in like, I would say like grassroots events, grassroots politics, like as in I used to be part of this group called the Malcolm X movement.
Right, okay.
And so like for example, one time we did a trip to Tanzania and I got to stay with Charlotte Hill O'Neill, and she was a Black Panther of Kansas City chapter. She was, her husband is Pete O'Neill, and they were the head of the Kansas City chapter. They had to like run away like inside a boot of a car, end up in Algeria when they settled in Tanzania. So it was really interesting to get to know her, to watch the documentary that had already been made about her, and then also ask my own questions, because she's very artistic, she's very musical. She was actually on her way to becoming a doctor, but then decided to stop that for the cause. Like a very intelligent woman, because imagine to be on a path of becoming a doctor as a black woman in the 60s, you know what I mean? Anyway, but I really value the way in which she ties in her activism with her music. And if you look her up, Charlotte Hill O'Neill, you will see the kind of works that her and her husband do with regards to helping the community and using the arts and music. So when I think now to that group and how I've like had that experience, it's definitely another reason why I guess I navigate music with that lens, because it's like one in the same. I think even another event that we did back in the day when we were commemorating at the 20th anniversary of Tupac's death, and we managed to do a Zoom call with his uncle. I can't remember the name right now, the name escapes me, but just different things like that. So I've always been exposed, or more recently maybe I should say, in my sort of early 20s, I've been exposed to seeing how music and the revolution basically go hand in hand.
It has to.
Yeah. And so, yeah.
Incredible. Right. I'm gonna keep going with this. So, you call it. Oh yeah, no, right. You sort of explain that. And let me quickly talk to you about how was Boiler Room doing the. Yeah, that was so sick. Oh my gosh, so the lineup as well, just the lineup. Especially because I was telling you about how I started off with liquid drum and bass and then ended up, kind of where I'm at now. And it was the fact that the lineup was, I think it was two local artists, Passion D's and Nala Brown. Right. Then afterwards was Caliber, Lensman, Coco Bryce, and then Fly Back to Back Storm. Yeah. So it was like a transition through all of the artists that I really admire, almost like on a chronological sort of like level. Yeah. And so I was asked to host, and that was really cool because when they eventually upload the mixes with the official, I think, videography like in January,
Like I was, light-handed on the mic. I wasn't doing too much, but I was like, yeah, I'm a vocalist. Let me show these people that I've been watching. For example, Black Eye do that thing where he says a word and then he repeats it whilst moving the mic. So it sounds like I was like, I've been watching. Let me try that out. Yeah. But anyway, so that was like really, that was amazing. Like I really valued the opportunity, and I actually asked them, like, or me and my manager asked, like, why did you ask like me? Because I, as much as I know that can hold a crowd, but they would have only seen me mixing.
Yeah.
And then they replied saying, they had seen the horse set that I had done in Berlin.
Yeah.
And even though that I wasn't on the mic, but perhaps I was looking energetic. But I got to shout out Sherelle because she's the one who actually got me or arranged for me to do that. Yeah. That horse set in Germany.
Oh, I see.
Which then led on to the me getting that boiler room gig. The atmosphere was really cool as well. Yeah. Like it was a mixture of people who were from Amsterdam as well as who had come out from outside for the festival. Really cool space. Like it was a lot. That
sounds amazing.
I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
Sounds amazing. I'm so glad I got this because I'm really stoned now. That's what I mean. That's like this is so good.
But I've known you for 4 years. That's why I was like, let me just.
But it's great because the thing is as well. I haven't been smoking at all. So you saw I had 2 pulls. It's absolutely. This is how you should smoke weed, kids. This is the way you do it. Don't smoke. And so when you do, it's like Louis C.K. When you do, it's really great because this is brilliant. I'm just sitting there going, this is amazing. She's got diamonds coming out of her head.
Nice. I got my little, little charms.
All Cruise, yes.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the All Cruise book, All Cruise must pick up. For those that you don't know, go and get it. Velocity Press. I believe it's still available.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. No. So I can't remember how I got.
Just 1 second. Sorry. I was gonna ask Rick. There he goes. There's Rick doing his thing.
You want some?
What is it?
Yes.
It looks like little dwarf's fingers.
Because speaking of, I've just come back from Tanzania. That's why I had the chance.
Are they worms? What are they?
They're fried grasshoppers.
They're fried grasshoppers. Oh. No, not you. She's not joking. You're really not joking, are you? Wow. Oh my God.
You don't have to.
I really want to because I'm actually quite good with this. I just feel like I'm probably too. I just couldn't believe you just showed me a fried grasshopper just then.
I thought I'd be like, which I am like. Something random.
Are you serious?
Yeah. So basically, I just got back from Tanzania.
Yeah. I had deep fried bees, man. I don't know why I'm being such a pussy.
Oh, language.
Sorry. Oh, you know what I mean.
One of the hardest muscles.
What is?
To push out a pussy.
Yeah, I know. All right. Just leave me with that one. All right.
Yeah, no, I'll leave it. I'm just saying, language.
No, I get it. No, you're right.
Language influences.
But the thing is, it's like
because the only ones where it's actually factually incorrect to refer to a muscle that actually pushes out heads as anything to do with weak.
But it's not though. It's cowardice more than weakness.
And yet we're using.
It's like saying, I don't know.
Do you actually believe that then? No, we do understand the connotations that.
Of course I do, but I don't think.
Which is why men will call other men pussies, but women won't necessarily call other women.
I think women call other women pussies all the time. I think it's just generational.
So you don't think it's a gendered? Wicked, you don't think it's gendered? Pussy. If you don't think it's gendered, then.
But isn't it? Weren't you just saying that? That we're basically that women are a lesser version of that.
Back in the day, 16th century.
Yeah. So why does it even matter? If gender doesn't matter so much, then it's just
no. But I mean that now because we exist, we don't unfortunately exist in a vacuum. We exist with other people who have a shared understanding of what the word pussy.
Wait, say one though.
Where we have an understanding of what the word pussy means in the context of weakness.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So if you're saying no, I didn't. Like my understanding that it's gendered.
Yeah.
And
it was like I got into argument with my ex about guys, the term guys.
Yeah, I actually try as a teacher. I do try and steer clear of saying guys and just try and say like.
You see, it's interesting because I've been in so many places where guys, even though as singular, you wouldn't say guy for a woman necessarily, but I totally know I've been in an occasion where you've said guys and it's a group of different gender people.
Yeah. So it's part of because it's a language thing. Isn't it? Yeah, it's a language thing.
But she would say no, but you only said that to just a group of men. I was like, no, you'd say that to a mixed group. But she didn't really bite.
No, my understanding of it was that it's more of a sense of like when referring to a group of people who could be mixed, the default word to just generalize them is a word that already has
a connotation to male,
and that therefore they're this idea of dominance kind of thing.
Yeah,
that was my understanding of it.
No, I get that.
But
then what about in like French or Italian or these other languages where chairs a certain gender, tables another, or cats always a female gender, or I thought it was interesting in Italian, you've used the female for like flies and sort of most like rats and irritating animals. And then sort of like, the male gender is always like for lions and sort of like things are more majestic.
Okay.
So
you see it mirrored there?
No, I see it mirrored there on some level, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't be able to answer too much about other languages, but what I do know is that I do think that the reason why I will pull you up, or I think someone should pull me up if I happen to perhaps say something without thinking that actually if I give it a bit of thought, I understand how that contributes to the continuation of whatever we might not actually want to continue.
Give me one. Let me have one. Sorry, just not because I'm trying to stop you, but I'm just
no. You're like, you muscled up.
I'm just like, all right, let's go. That's right. Okay, let's go. Oh, it's a bit soft because that one's got a bit of big feet on it. Come on, stop it.
We were together.
Oh, actually, that's quite meaty.
Yeah?
No, that's quite nice.
What do you think it tastes like?
Tastes like Twiglet.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah, it gets a bit bitty. Oh.
It's turned into I'm a Celebrity, get me out of here. But
Wish I could try.
So I suddenly thought, it's a grasshopper again. In my head, it's just my own brain telling you that you shouldn't be eating them.
I know, and isn't it funny how what comedian was it? What's that Sri Lankan comedian? He recently just released a special on Netflix. Filmed it in Crawley, I think. Has a lazy eye.
I can't pronounce his bloody name.
Yeah. Well, anyway.
Ragan, he's got
But it definitely his R's are in there. And he was just talking about how culture tells us that eating chicken and turkey is alright, but that eating dog is better. But it's just culture.
Yeah.
And we need to have the. I think in order to exist as good human beings, we need to acknowledge that my culture isn't the default culture. But and that's why I do always say about how the pushing of white supremacy and the pushing of gender roles, they go hand in hand, because it's an idea of this is the only way to be. You know what I mean? And these times, this thing that you're eating here, it's weird to you only because you've been conditioned for it to be weird. Literally, just that.
I think I've just got a bit older and a bit more wimpy. Right, do you know what I mean?
You like what you like.
No, because I've had deep fried bees, I've had witchy grabs.
Or maybe because I sprung it on you.
I think if I was in another country, I'd be more ready to kind of go. Because when I had deep fried bees, I was in China. I was like, fuck it. You know what I mean? Because I was there and it was hot and it's like the right. But you're in your.
You say deep fried bees?
Yeah.
Are they chewy? Just because
no, they were crunchy. It was like popcorn chicken. But it was I was eating about 3 or 4 of them, and I was like, these are bees, man. What am I doing? Just, I mean, and that was probably just the unlearning that needed to happen at that point. Because up to that point, I'm like, well, you don't eat bees. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, exactly.
Am I going to die later? Just turn into start flying away. So. Shit, I don't know where I'm. You've thrown me for a bit.
Right. That makes sense. That's valid.
Now I'm trying experimental foods on the podcast. It's great. So, I mean, there was a lot. What else did we have here? Oh yeah, no. And right. So I've.
We never went into all crews because we
didn't go
went
to all
outside.
crews. Yeah, all crews, and then there's something else I was going to talk to you about as well.
Yeah. So when I can't remember when I first read that book, but I really enjoyed how, as someone who wasn't around during the genesis of it, and deeply wish that they were.
Yeah, old dogs like me. Yeah.
I really like the way the book was obviously because this is like a journalist just exploring and finding out all the different crevices of, you know, and so you really reading that book, you really feel like you're being taken on that journey where you know, you're just finding out about all of the different foundations that came to become
and they had the revision where they included in perspective and technicality we get our mention in there, which I'm very pleased. It wasn't in the first edition, I think it was like the second or third. Okay. And it got revised. Because I think rightly so, and you know, he did a fantastic job. Actually, I'd love to get him on. It'd be a great person, great guest to get on here. So I might talk to Velocity Press about that.
And then there's also a book that I really enjoyed reading.
Jungle as well. Is that other book as well? Have you seen that one? It's all like a fictional story kind of thing, but it's based around the whole jungle scene.
And then another book that I read a few years ago is Hold Tight by Jeffrey Watching. And so the full title of it is Hold Tight, like, I don't know, like a look into grime and black masculinity in the UK or something like that. Anyway, so each chapter in that book is named after some sort of pivotal foundational tune that's taken us from sound system in Jamaica to grime that we know today. So it's such a shame that I can't remember the first chapter. I actually wanted to try and find the book, but I couldn't find it at home. But like the name of the first chapter is like some original tune that's like come from Jamaica that, you know, people reference as that's what we used to get sampled and then, you know. And so I really enjoyed reading those books in conjunction because it just gave me an idea of like how things happened and what tunes were about like chronologically. So yeah, definitely I'd recommend those two books, All Cruise and Hold Tight by Jeffrey.
They're both amazing. And I mean, you know, like I think that's such an important part of the culture and literacy and the legacy of jungle drum and bass. Those stories have to be written. They have to be talked about. People have to write or make documentaries. And I don't think we should be getting too upset when, you know, certain more... Well, we can get upset if we want, but what I mean is like everyone sort of jumped on that one documentary, for example, you know, jungle drum and bass, the documentary, you know. They made
the DMBA one? Or
the DMBA one. And obviously it was
where they just flashed an image of chemistry and storm on the screen like a bad magic trick.
Yes, there was a lot of things wrong with it, but there was a lot. But I think the people that made it were just very young, and they just wanted to meet and talk to Wilkinson and like whoever it was, and you know it was they just then my thing is like, well, you could have just done a whole documentary with Wilkinson. That's okay because then you're doing the shit that you like. And then left someone else to do it, or gone into collaboration with someone else.
But this is where does the brazenness come from to write stories that you've not even done research in? Like, you know, the ones where if I do a documentary, like, actually, when I even speak about when I did the interview with Charlotte Hill O'Neill, what did I say? The first thing I did? I watched other documentaries. I did my research. But what makes a certain group of people so bold and brazen that they don't have to read about these people, they can just step in and they have the resources, I guess, and the whatever to then do whatever. Like, just, it doesn't, on a journalistic point of view, it's weird. But then people also criticize All Cruise for not having enough like women, I think, in the original one as well. So it's I mean, I guess and this is where it gets political.
Well, it does get political, and it's what I was saying earlier on today. It's like my role, I feel now in jungle drum and bass is mostly political, and it's that's, and I'm fine with that because I'm built for it. So it's not really a problem.
That's how I feel as well.
Yeah, but like I think the world tells them that. Like
you're right.
From birth, pretty much. Sort of says,
that is literally what white supremacy is. I can step into a culture. I don't even know your name. So I remember that guy who tried to call himself Flight, Flit. Yeah. Because you know that he just.
I mean, he was told several times as well. My understanding was to change the name.
I know he tried to lie and say he didn't. But then once, what did I do? I went on my stories. I called him out because obviously I think Flight was not going to. But I was like, no, I'm built for it.
It's crazy. It is mad how that happens. But I mean, it's just. I mean, you know.
But see, he changed it though because people galvanized and said, actually, I don't need to be palatable. You're gonna know, and you're gonna know publicly. No. That doesn't make sense.
It's just in the Hawks now. It's fine. He's changed it, and so. And I mean, the thing is, I know the fella. He's a good lad, and he's a bit cheeky. But I guess there's it's just a name. It's just a name. It's like, well, you know, if it was another type of person's name, I don't know if you'd be, you know, I've got outrageous.
Yeah, they tried to say it. They didn't know. They knew.
No, mine's
and then again, because we're always going to afford these people the benefit of doubt. Of they're not racist. They're just cheeky.
Yeah.
They're not racist. They're just ignorant. They're not racist. Remember, Boris Johnson was not racist. He was just dumb.
Yeah.
Remember, Trump was the no real threat. He was just an idiot. So at what point are we? So as far as I'm concerned, idiot and racist are the same thing.
Yeah.
Because we're here now.
Yeah.
So if you've been afforded that much grace that you've not even learned, you might as well be racist. You're like, or it's even worse. Worse.
Yeah.
Where have you been?
Yeah.
And then you're stepping into a space. That's why it was so funny when that guy said to No Nation, "Oh, don't pull the race card." How brazen you have to be in the group full of all white people saying don't pull the race card. Like, open your eyes, otherwise someone's gonna open them for you.
Yeah. I mean, but it's that comfortability. I think some people like, and I guess. You know, a lot of times we afford it to them.
Yeah,
right?
and
you know
exactly. I mean? Hence why then now when that then happened, and then now saying someone was coming and defending them, because again we're not in a space where we're used to standing up for ourselves and not being palatable, because most of it is about, you know, when we were constantly told that you should be appreciative, just keep quiet, don't cause trouble. You're gonna be perceived as aggressive. Well, I'm gonna be perceived as aggressive
either way. So it doesn't matter what I do. You're fucked
this
either
way
way.
has been tried and tested. It's not working.
Yeah.
So now again with my mathematical brain, right, we're gonna try this way, and then at least that way, when I stick up for myself in the moment, I do the work of actually believing that I value myself enough that you're gonna know why. Yeah. Why should you not be made to feel uncomfortable? Because you made me feel uncomfortable. So now we're all gonna be uncomfortable, and we'll learn.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. If I'm gonna burn, you're gonna burn with me.
And let this be a learning. Experience, rather than me going and then now like complaining about it with all my black friends. That's not gonna do anything. You're gonna get this smoke. And if I come to you in your DMs and just keep it there, no, we must now all see how the interaction worked. Because if it means you're gonna think twice next time that there are black people out here who will put me on blast if I say stuff like I'm a white guy who says bumbleclot on the mic and what.
So why would he say that? I don't get why he's saying that.
No, because bravery. Because we're just gonna keep quiet and laugh it off.
It's just such a stupid, but it's just like, it's such a stupid thing to say as well, because it's obviously acknowledging the fact that it's kind of weird. So, because he's saying, well, I'm gonna do it anyway, and it's just like, I don't know, I just think the arrogance of the guy to kind of say that, and then. But the reason why I put Metropolitan Hotel Dublin in response to that, because I thought maybe, this is before hearing your story today, that maybe you're being maybe slightly oversensitive with the standing close to you thing. Because I was like, but I just wanted to remind you that there was a hotel I played in the basement, and the DJ box was so close, like to the wall behind you, that the fan, you know, the people in front of you could touch the wall behind you.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That sometimes you're in very close spaces in clubs, and that might not always be like, you know, some sort of like move and stuff. But no, I mean, it sounded like he was, you know, sort of
just overstepping
and just grabbing you. Yeah, and that's the point, because he would have been doing this, you know, it's not like he's doing this.
Yeah. Do you get what I mean? So, exactly. So now when I ask you to actually embody what it means.
I really do.
And that's why, again, some people will maybe do it without thinking.
Oh, sorry, go on. Sorry, finish what you're saying.
People might even do it without thinking, but now we've got to think.
Yeah,
because it may have been harmless to you, but it made me feel very uncomfortable.
Yeah,
so now I'm not saving anything by you not. By me saving you from any uncomfortability, because that's how we learn.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
What's their name? There's a non-binary person who recently put out an article, and it was posted on Black Artist Database, and it was just kind of calling out certain like promoters and things like that. And again, it explores in great detail at the beginning this idea of, you know, what does it mean to be a darker skinned black person navigating the scene, knowing that if you really want to get anywhere, what you really want to be trying to be doing is being quiet and palatable. But what does it mean in light of the conversations that we've been having to actually decide that no? Because when you're palatable, that chips away at you. It's not like, you know, them ones like, it does, you know. It does. Takes away part of your soul. Yeah, you know. Because you're literally dehumanizing yourself in order to fit like this mold. So it goes into depth about how can we address this when these things happen. What can we do? So even the article goes on to say that this article isn't really like for the white gay. If you want to read it as an ally, so long as you don't get defensive, then you might understand what it means. But ultimately,
Well, I mean, they've been having, you know, some interesting events and stuff for Black Art Database, obviously with Beatport and everything that's going on there. Yeah. And there's a Zoom call, which I think is actually happening now, when I think about it.
Is it Wednesday? I didn't think it was happening on a Wednesday.
Oh, is it this Wednesday? I think it's this Wednesday.
No, as in today is Wednesday.
Oh, I think I missed it. I think it was on Monday. I think I might have missed it actually. But I'll double check with Kay. Yeah. But you know, there's been a lot of problems at Beatport in the offices there with one of the managers there, and you know, just saying some horrendous things and stuff. And so I was invited as part of the Black Junks Alliance, obviously, and the rest of us were invited to sit on a Zoom call.
Yeah, yeah.
And I said, first thing I said is like, to Kay, is like, well, is everyone going to have their cameras on? Like, do you know what I mean? Because it's like, you know, we've got to know that everyone in the room, you know what I mean? Because why is that a blank screen? What's that person?
Yeah, of course.
Do you know what I mean? So I said, like, everyone's got to have their camera on. Like, at least initially, so that we can all see that it's going to be the right space. So and people are going to be wondering, but just look up Vice magazine, Beatport racism on Google's, and you'll find something.
But that's why even with this, going back to the whole thing that happened at Corsica, the email's not making sense. And I basically said to them, you need to go through this correspondence with someone like EQ50, for example, so that they can actually show you. And my hope is that these people, if they're serious about it, they will pay for these kinds of services to rectify. You know, the same way businesses do the same thing. We've got this issue, we've got to remedy it. You don't just hope that people will help out the kindness of their heart. You recognise that this is actually an issue and we want to solve it. So if your security team, you talk about diversity on your policy, as I came to find out online, but that actually your whole security team is of one demographic.
Yeah.
Like do you like do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah.
So what lies ahead for you? Because I'm just going to pull it back into music again. What do you think? Because obviously you've had a couple of releases of Sweetbox and who else has done different music? Well, different, sorry,
yeah. And on Western Law as well.
Western Law.
And on Shubzin, got a shout out Shubzin. I've actually been blessed with a lot more free time. Yeah. So I've been doing a lot of collaborations. Actually, one of my more recent, very different collaborations, I did a trip hop beat with Idiotech.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like me singing.
Right.
We revised a sort of poem that he made together, and like, you know, I'm really proud of that.
Okay.
In the sense that, like, I'm liking the direction of actually showcasing the eclectic music that I like.
Right.
Funnily enough, when I did the whole Spotify end gear rap thing, drum and bass jungle doesn't even feature on my top 5.
Wow.
Like, it's like, I think like my most listened type of music is like indie soul.
Right, okay,
yeah. Basically.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I'm doing a lot more collaborations where I'm like singing and like co-producing more. And so...
What do you prefer doing?
What do I prefer doing? What?
Yeah, co-producing, like producing or singing? Like
singing.
Performing. You prefer that?
Singing, yeah. That's because, as in, I've been doing that the longest. And specifically, like, I have this weird thing where I love harmonies. Like, as in, you know, growing up in the church as well, I was also the type of person who, in choir, if we learn the melody, I can figure out, like, the harmony, like, there and then. Like, got quite a good ear and pitch. So, yeah, so it just means that I've been using my voice as an instrument the longest, you know? Right, and, like, even I had a session yesterday with someone, and, like, we had made this tune, and I was like, I don't know how I'm going to think of a melody to it. We got to the end of the day, and I was like, oh dear, like, I know what to do it, like, you know what I mean? Yeah. So yeah, next year I want to just be hopefully I want to put out a collection of work of like me mainly just singing. Right. So yeah, stay tuned for that.
So that's gonna be I mean, have you? So there was a Lobster Theremin.
Although I did.
We did one track on there.
Yeah, a few actually, like a 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
So obviously you know, No Nation was rightfully burnt because for him that was like a good opportunity, just, you know, and then obviously that was the least of anyone's worries because people's, you know, lives have been endangered and whatnot. But these things happen to the best of people, innit? It's all about recovering and persevering.
Yeah. Because I remember the other thing as well I was going to pull you up on. If you're going to pull me up with things, you pulled me up when you gave me shit for working for RNS.
I never give you shit for
working for. Yeah, you've forgotten.
No, I didn't. Literally, I actually, the reason why I know I didn't is because what is that tune by Wax Doctor?
Heat.
No, it's on RNS and it has some sample. It's like, come on, Mickey. I can't remember it. Yeah. The name. You don't no, literally, as in I remember I was at a radio station and then I played that tune because I love the tune. Yeah. And someone said to me, oh, we don't play that here, and I was like, I like Wax Doctor. I'm gonna play the tune.
But you did give it a little bit of shit.
No, I wouldn't. But as in, I know that I play that tune. However, if it could have been the way you were handling it, as in the optics of it,
that's something
different. Because usually, I think what I've called you up on is that you know, considering the space that we're in, like this Black Junglist Alliance, you just got to be aware of the optics of things.
Yeah.
This chess game that we're playing is a chess game that we're playing.
Yeah, but this is
but I don't remember.
Well, it's convenient. I don't remember it that way, but I'm just saying.
That's why I gave you that example.
That's what I'm saying. But it's absolutely fine because I rated you for like, you know, because a couple of people did. And, you know,
what would it have been specifically? Because I think it might have been something.
No. Well, look, it is. This is how I remember.
Was it wearing the top or something and just?
Well, yeah. Well, no, because I think you even left me like a voice note at like 4 a.m. Do you know what I mean? It was like one of them mad random. I'm waking up. I was like, what the fuck? Do you know what I mean? But like, you know,
I don't madly rant, but okay.
No, you wasn't a mad rant. It's just you just stated your claim. But you know, I think you were just disappointed because the perception at the time was that, you know, this individual who runs a label, you know, Renat, was problematic for people of colour and that, and then you standing by him after having called out these other people, it looked a bit weird. And that's absolutely fine, but I said to you...
the optics of knowing that you wait things out until... Because the worst thing you want is for people to be looking at things from the blackies and the brownies are fighting again.
Right. But this is what I'm saying. So it's like... It's fine, because at the end of the day, I get it, and you weren't the only person to do that. But that's why I was so like, when I saw, you know, when everything sort of got cleared up and, you know, sort of like, it was evident that what was being accused, he was being accused of wasn't true, you know... It just was like,
I feel like you really want to talk about this.
No, I don't really want to talk about it. It just came up. It just as we've been going back and forwards, I'm like, I forgot about that. And it really didn't bother me because I knew the truth. And it's like what I spoke with Vink about yesterday. Is like I knew how I was being treated. I knew the truth. I knew what was going on. I knew what was happening. I knew what other people weren't aware of. You know, and so it was like.
Then you either come out with it wholeheartedly or because you can't live in the halfways. Do you get what I mean? So either you're posting receipts or if you're just sort of leaving things that leave things to people's imagination.
Absolutely, but
and that's when we optics. But that's like what I'm thinking.
Well, I know, but the problem was there was a legality behind what was going on, so there was only so much I could say.
Not to say anything at all.
But all I did was join the label as an A&R scout.
No, and then that's what I'm saying. I think it was something to do with the optics of like a top or something. Do you get what I mean? It's a shame that I don't have it in front of me now.
Yeah, God. I don't. Oh, cool. But it's all good. It's absolutely fine. We do. That's all right. But no, honestly, it wasn't. I wasn't trying to like. I can start a war right now. I was just like saying. It was just like no, because I remember, you know, but the thing was, what I say that to say that I always respected you for, you know, sort of like coming and giving me your opinion about things and being truthful about how you felt about stuff, and you know, it was always useful to me to hear that your point of view on that. So you know, I do appreciate it, and I thank you for it because.
Yeah. Thanks, and I appreciate it, and I also appreciate you know, I always say that even though you can't remember it, but you were the first one to give me my radio show to really big me up and give me the opportunity on Clash Mouth and like even listen to some of our most early tunes when we were just making bleep 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 music. Yeah, that's what I mean.
It's been a roller coaster.
Exactly.
But like, I mean, one of the things, I mean, the first thing you wouldn't say producing. But I know that you love DJing though.
Oh
yeah.
And I mean, because that's definitely like, and I think even when I finally came to terms with the fact that actually I like performing and there's nothing wrong with admitting that, then it was okay, and that's why I love being able to tell a story with my mixing and like perform that mix. So I like singing as well, and especially like live renditions. I actually think I like live more than recording in a studio because when you're doing live, you're allowed to have like some blips and whatever, whereas recording has to be perfect.
Yeah.
But
I just remember you playing that Malcolm X sample.
Oh yeah. We should put the link of that mix. Yes.
It's like Maggie's not playing.
Malcolm X is my hero. If it wasn't cringe, I would get a tattoo of it. But it's cringe.
Well, there might be something you could do.
Yeah. Not like it's not for me. I know some other people have, but like as in, I don't think I'd want anyone's face on my.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. There could be something else like.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, you could.
But like, especially just his autobiography and just how you see the journey of a man who's clearly been blessed with an eye, articulates, realizes actually I made a mistake, talks openly about that, you know, mistake, and makes a point that I want this to be in my, because it was very clear in my autobiography, because it was very clear he knew he was going to be killed as the time came. Like he was like, I've studied enough to know that the time I'm not grown old. Yeah. So, but you know what I mean.
He knew someone take him out, didn't he?
So and just you know, his his journey is so inspiring.
Yeah, he was a great one, man.
Yeah. That and have you read the autobiography by Assata Shakur?
So I've been told. Maybe my biggest problem is I don't fucking read mags.
Oh,
I'm not a big reader.
Fair enough.
Which is really embarrassing to admit on camera. But I was just...
It's somewhat not anti, but it goes against... There are certain people who it's hard to process words.
Yeah,
even if you have dyslexia, for example, it's difficult.
I mean, there's certain books I've managed to get through over the years. I've read, but I've always read comics and graphic novels and stuff. And I'd much rather I need the pictures. So, do you know what I mean? Because I just tend to my biggest thing is reading the same sentence over and over again.
You know what? You know what? It's so funny because I've often thought to myself, like, I think I just developed coping skills when it came to school, and also maybe why I like maths. Went into that more than English, because I remember when we were studying Pride and Prejudice, and I remember all these names, and I remember for the life of me I would read a sentence and be like, wait, Darcy, wait, I gotta go back to again. Who's Darcy again? Okay, right. Wait, but who's Toby? Okay, now I've got to go back to the I just could not hold all of the words in my head.
Yeah.
That's actually one thing that's really good about All Crews. I think when it was printed in the page, the mise en page you would call it. It's like split into 2 columns because supposedly if you've got dyslexia, it's easy to read short, like a short length, rather than having to read all the way from the start to the beginning. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I don't know what edition it was printed that way, but it's the edition that I have. So yeah.
It's amazing though.
I think I better take that. That cool. I didn't like I was expecting that one. And
right, cool,
I mean?
cool.
Yeah.
No worries. We'll probably just end it there. Thanks a lot, mate.
Man.
Oh my goodness. You know, we're going to have to do a part 2 of this. I'm absolutely blown away. But thanks very much for coming on, mate.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.